There was something about Michio Kaku's face that screamed trouble. This wasn't the calm, razor-sharp scientist the world was used to, the man who could break down the universe's secrets on TV with a smirk and a sparkle in his eye. No, this time he froze. His voice wavered, his eyes locked on a single image projected behind him, like he was staring into something he wished he'd never seen. When he finally spoke, the entire room, packed with world-class scientists, top-tier journalists, and veteran space historians, went dead silent. This wasn't the lively briefing about new lunar satellite data that everyone expected. It was something far darker. The air was thick with tension, as if the walls themselves were waiting to hear the truth. What came next hit harder than a meteor. It wasn't just numbers or charts. It was a confession from the cosmos itself. Something lurking under the moon's skin had shattered everything we thought we knew, and by the time you hear it, you'll understand exactly why Michio Kaku's eyes glistened, because what they discovered under the moon wasn't natural. Kaku didn't ease into it. He dropped a revelation that smashed decades of rock-solid scientific belief, using brand-new quantum deep imaging satellites, tech so advanced it makes current space gear look like toys. Scientists had scanned beneath the moon's surface in ways never done before, and instead of finding plain old stone, they uncovered massive hollow chambers, stretching hundreds of kilometers, arranged in perfect, unnatural symmetry. No force of nature could explain what they found. Not a chance. These weren't random lava tubes or lucky air pockets. These cavities had shape, order, alignment. They had purpose. And when the thermal scans came in, showing heat pulsing from deep inside with precision too perfect to be a natural process, the room's energy shifted. Every scientist there felt it. This was no fluke. Something inside the moon was alive in some way. Whether it was a reactor, a colossal machine, or an ancient monument, Kaku kept his lips sealed, but he didn't need to say a word. The evidence on the screen screamed louder than any theory could. Then came the next gut punch. The patterns. Gravitational quirks once brushed off as bad readings now formed a crystal-clear design, a massive global grid stretching from pole to pole, perfectly matching the hollow structures and metallic reflections spotted by radar. This wasn't chaos. This was architecture. Kaku showed side-by-side gravitational maps from 3 separate space agencies, and the match was undeniable. The moon had an invisible skeleton holding it in place with an accuracy that felt almost menacing, and if this grid was still active, still humming with power, then the moon wasn't just hanging there in space doing nothing. It might be steering more than its own orbit, maybe shaping Earth's tides, keeping our axis steady, maybe even controlling more than we dare imagine. Kaku's final hint sent shivers down spines. If the moon was placed, if it was built, then the real question is, who built it and why? When Kaku shifted from cold, hard science to ancient mythology, his voice dropped, heavier, more deliberate. On the screen appeared carvings and writings from the Sumerians, the Mayans, the Egyptians, and every one of these civilizations spoke of the moon not as something that had always been there, but as something that arrived, a visitor, a teacher. Some texts even spoke of nights without the moon in the sky, and gods descending from it like chariots of light. Until now, historians had shrugged this off as poetry, beautiful, mysterious, but harmless metaphor. But when these ancient tales were laid over the shocking lunar data, they stopped sounding like bedtime stories and started feeling like warnings, fragments of memory encoded in myth, handed down for thousands of years so we wouldn't forget. Even lunar eclipses, long explained as simple astronomy, suddenly felt suspect. The moon's size and its distance from Earth are so perfect that it can block the sun with pinpoint precision, the only known phenomenon like it in the entire universe. Was this cosmic luck or cosmic engineering? Could someone have placed it there for a reason, maybe as an observation post, or even a grand spectacle? But then came the real gut twister. Using high-frequency tomography and subsurface radar, scientists uncovered strange reflective materials beneath the crust, metals that don't exist in any earthly catalog. These weren't scattered like random ore deposits. They were arranged in perfect geometric formations, engineered to absorb and redirect radar in ways nature simply doesn't do. And when they ran stress simulations, The results were chilling. These materials acted like armor, like protective casing meant to last against the crushing weight of time, pressure, and violent impacts. Kaku didn't outright say it, but the implication was clear. We could be looking at the remains of an ancient machine, or worse, a sleeping system, buried in the moon, waiting for the right moment to wake up. Those strange seismic echoes we've heard about since the Apollo missions suddenly took on a whole new meaning. They no longer sounded like harmless groans of ancient rock. They felt like movement, like signals, vibrations from something alive deep inside. The moon wasn't just an enigma anymore. It was responding, and if it was responding, that meant one thing: something in there was still listening. Then Kaku dropped a bombshell. One of the most chilling details wasn't even new. It had been sitting in plain sight for over 50 years. Back during Apollo 12, NASA engineers purposely crashed the ascent stage of the lunar module into the moon to see how it would react. What happened next stunned them, but the world soon forgot. The moon rang like a bell for almost an hour. At the time, many brushed it off as a glitch or weird fluke. But now, knowing what's inside, that sound feels like a warning echo from the past. Natural rock doesn't hum like that, not unless it's hollow, or worse, hollow and reinforced. Kaku pointed to fresh AI-powered simulations that backed it up. The only explanations left on the table were jaw-dropping. Either the moon is nothing like any other planetary body we've studied, or it's not a planetary body at all in the way we think. And here's the part that makes your skin crawl. Other intentional impacts in later missions produce the same bell-like vibration over and over again. The moon wasn't just taking the hit, it was reacting like a finely tuned instrument, which leaves the question hanging in the air like a ghost. Who built that instrument, and why would anyone design it to answer back to collisions? Then Kaku shifted to a mystery that had been quietly brewing in the shadows of the scientific world. For years, radio astronomers have been picking up strange, low-frequency bursts coming from the moon's dark side, and they weren't random noise. These were patterns of electromagnetic activity unlike anything caused by natural rock, solar winds, or cosmic background radiation. Even stranger, the signals were pinpointed to specific coordinates, popping up at exact intervals, almost like they were keeping time with the moon's orbit or phases. When run through advanced signal processing software, some of these bursts revealed something jaw-dropping, structured, repeating sequences that looked eerily like early computer code. Could this be an ancient beacon, a long-forgotten surveillance system? Kaku didn't come out and confirm it, but the implication was impossible to ignore, especially when he revealed that these mysterious signals spike in strength whenever deep space probes pass behind the moon. That's not random chance, that's behavior. Whatever's under that dusty shell might not just be a dead artifact. It might be awake, and worse, it might know we're here. But the weirdness didn't stop there. Kaku reminded everyone of one of the moon's most baffling features: its orbit. It's so precise, so perfectly measured, that it allows the moon to cover the sun with exact symmetry during a total eclipse, a phenomenon seen nowhere else in the solar system. And that, he hinted, was only scratching the surface of the bigger truth. Kaku then dropped another mindbender. Orbital simulations proving the moon's path is so stable it laughs in the face of long-term gravitational drift. Every other moon in the solar system wobbles, shifts, or drifts over the course of millennia. But not ours. Even stranger, its rotation is locked so perfectly to Earth that we only ever see one face, as if it's hiding something on the far side. Textbooks call this tidal locking, a natural outcome of gravity, but the odds of it happening in such an exact, almost theatrical way are so tiny they're practically zero. It's as if the moon wasn't just placed there to orbit, but to perform, to align perfectly for eclipses, to keep watch, maybe even to guide or monitor us. And then came the moment where even the usually upbeat Kaku dropped the optimism. This arrangement, he said, couldn't honestly be called natural anymore. But the real chill came not from the data. It came from what had been erased. Kaku spoke of dozens of original Apollo mission recordings, telemetry logs, astronaut voice transmissions that had vanished or been mysteriously recorded over, and whispers from behind NASA's closed doors claim some of those tapes captured astronauts reacting to strange lights, metallic noises rumbling from under the surface, and sudden, unexplained calm blackouts whenever they passed behind the moon. Even more unsettling, whistleblowers, now in their final years, have begun to talk. They speak of redacted reports, private debriefings, and quiet warnings to astronauts, telling them never to repeat what they saw or what they heard. Up there, Kaku, who rarely waded into talk of cover-ups, finally admitted something that sent chills through the room. The silence had grown too loud to ignore. If the moon is something else, something far older, far more advanced than we've been told, then those who know the truth are guarding it for a reason, and that reason might be far more terrifying than the truth itself. As Kaku stepped back from the podium, the air felt heavier than gravity itself. This wasn't the quiet of wonder. It was the silence that comes when a room full of the world's sharpest minds realizes they've been staring at a lie their whole lives. The moon, that glowing romantic symbol of peace and light, suddenly loomed like a cold watching eye. Maybe it's not a natural satellite. Maybe it's not dead rock. And maybe, just maybe, it's not even ours. From the impossible perfection of its orbit to the eerie bell echoes, from ancient myths that warn of its arrival to the vanished NASA recordings, piece by piece, the story we've been fed is falling apart. And if Michio Kaku, a man anchored in logic, science, and quantum law, is brought to tears by what the moon might truly be, then it's not just a space mystery anymore. It's a question about our place in the universe, and who, or what, might be watching from above. It's no longer just about the moon itself. It's about who or what put it there, and why it's been watching us all this time. The real question now is, what happens if we dig too deep? If we push too far? Could we awaken something ancient, something we were never supposed to find? I want to hear from you. Drop it in the comments. Do you think the moon is a natural wonder? Or is it something far more engineered, far more intentional? And if this revelation rattled you the way it rattled us, then you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, and smash that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next, because what we're about to uncover in our next video might flip everything you thought you knew about the sky above. Sometimes the truth isn't out there. It's been right over our heads the whole time.